Okay, so I have these sensors on a couple of my cymbals, and the cracking, distorting. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at these things. We're gonna remove this one from the cymbal. Okay, so you don't screw off the metal part. The whole thing's covered with this rubber covering, right? And so you can fold it back. And while you're folding it back, you got this cable, and it needs to slide up and out while you're doing it. So you got to gently, remove this thing. So it takes a little strength to get it started. But once you get it started, you're going to roll it around that cable. And you got to let that cable come through where it's meeting inside there. So if you pull on the cable, you're going to break the wire. So what you want to do is slowly pull it off starting from the top, roll it down, and then you move the cable up a little bit while you're moving that down. You can see it's kind of free now. So, and I can already tell. When you look in there, you got a white and red wire that's connected to the microphone, and there's supposed to be a ground or shielded wire that's soldered on the top, and I can already see that shielded ground wire is broken off. So it's supposed to be right there soldered on the top. So I'm going to try to get the whole wire out, and you can see that the white and red wire is attached, but that shielded wire is gone. It's down inside there. So that's why it failed. So this one broke off. So I'm going to try to get that out. Let's spin it. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to push it through. All right. And I get that out of the way. So now you can see where the fail was. It's that shield ground wire. It popped off. All right, it's supposed to be soldered to the top there. Okay, so I'm gonna just obviously you can see the cable stretched, so that wire's not really gonna touch that. So I'm not gonna push it up into it, because what's gonna happen is I'm going to have the same problem. So now that the wire is stretched out, I'm going to have to add some wire to this to get it to the top there. So, all right. So that's the plan. It looks like the white and red wire are good, but I'm not going to push that right up there because it's going to require some slack in there. So I'm going to go ahead and add some wire to that. Okay, we're going to add some wire to this. That broken shielded ground wire, we're just going to add some in there. So I got some wire, it's stranded wire, and I'm going to just add a little bit of solder to the wire. So I've got some solder in there. It'll make it a little bit easier, quicker to do the soldering. So right now I'm doing that. All right, so I'm going to add some solder to this. That way it's like pre-soldered. Make it a little bit quicker to get the wire added to it. So I get some solder flowed in there. Okay, now I'm ready to go ahead and add that wire to it. I got to be careful so I'm not like melting the other two wires. There's some epoxy that's holding in the other two wires, so I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just solder this part on there on my grounded shield wire. I'm going to add some solder to that. Get that started and make sure it wets up real good. And then we're going to go ahead and get that wire that I got ready to go. I'm going to add that. We'll let that cool down for a bit. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to have to add some solder to the top of that just so I got something in there. So got to do it kind of quickly so I'm not too much heat on top of that microphone. So we'll get that in there. Alright, I've got some solder there. We're going to go ahead and connect these guys. So I want to get that wire close as I can to the back of that microphone contact. I don't know how much space I have in that cover when I slide it back on. Alright, we'll get that to cool down, and I'm ready to snip off that end here. Okay, on this one, this is another sensor I got, and it had the same problem. So the ground shield wire came off, and so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. It didn't look like it was, the cable was stretched as much, so I don't have to go as far. So what I'm going to do is I've already soldered the cable to the back part of it, and I'm just going to add a few more strands of wire on it just to give it a little more strength, just to make sure it's good to go. So I'm adding that to it. Let that cool down for a bit. Alright, so I ended up getting some vice locks on it. It just really hold that thing when I'm moving it around. So now I'm ready to finish soldering. I need to make sure there's a space between the ground shield wire and the white and red wire to the microphone. That way there's no melting between the two wires in the epoxy. Okay, so I've got the solder down there. I made sure I separated the ground shield wire from the other two wires. I put a little plastic in between the two, so you know there's a little bit more protection in there. So now I'm going to slide this thing over. So the whole thing is I wanted to make sure I got enough clearance inside there. So that's the real trick. Is it going to fit back in there? So we had to make that repair as tight as possible on the wires, so there's not a lot of, you know, solder buildup or, you know, extra wire and stuff. So it was really important to keep that wire close and the solder nice and even. So what I'm doing now, I'm trying to roll that back over, and as I'm rolling it, I push it down and then I gently pull the cable down, because that cable needs to freely go in and out. So it needs to go out. As I'm pushing it in, it needs to be pulled down just a little bit. You don't want to pull the wires and break anything, but it's you can tell with my fingers, it's like it's really, you know, pretty tight. And so it's slowly sliding it around, pull the cable through, sliding it over, and I'm almost got it. So I think I'm gonna just get some pliers to help me push that down, that last part of it. So let's see. Yeah, doing it with the bare hands is pretty rough. I'll end up just doing the pliers. So I'm pushing it down. Pretty sure I got that down in there. Let's take a look here. Almost. It's still not wrapped around completely even, so I'm gonna let's get that in there. So we're gently doing stuff with this just to get that in there. And again, that cable's got to come back through, so I'm gently pulling on it as I'm stretching that plastic back around that microphone. So I think I got it. Looks good. So now we got to just test it. I've got the other one, same thing. I've got a little plastic in there I need to trim off, so I can trim that off. And once that's in there, I'm going to roll that part off. Let's see. And you really got to trim that pretty close if you're going to add anything in there. So I think think I'm going to just use some scissors and cut a little bit more off of that. So I'll just trim off that extra plastic that I stuck in between the ground shield wire and the white and red wire. So that way it's pretty close. And now it looks like I'm ready to roll that plastic cover back over it. So, and again, it's just you're working it in slowly, pushing it in this motion and gently pulling the cable through. This one looks like it was a little bit easier than the last one. So, looks pretty good. You might notice I have, on this particular one, I had to do a splice in the cable because I had an actual tear in the cable, and I thought that was what was failing it. So I ended up cutting out the bad part of the cable that was torn open, and then spliced everything together, and I tested it, and it really wasn't the problem. It was the inside of the sensor where the ground wire broke. Okay, so I've got that, and now we're ready to test this guy too. So let's go for it. So I'm going to go ahead and test both of these guys and see if that was the fix, okay? All right, let's do it. All right, we're going to check this out. So I installed them back on, right back there. Okay, that sounds good. And then the other one installed back here. Right? Okay, so it looks like this fixed it.